I was asked, do you think social media has caused more good or more bad? And my initial answer was definitely more bad overall, but for me, way more good. Like all my whole life and all the best things that have happened to me have been extremely contributed by social media. I was a lonelier kid in high school, and by watching YouTube, I found a creative outlet. I met some of my best friends through the internet. The internet's where I post this podcast where I get to sit down and do cool things with you. But I know that, and this is statistically, you can look, since social media, since the internet, depression's gone up, suicide's gone up, anxiety's gone. Almost all mental health categories have become worse since the dawn of social media. So that is an interesting question. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. Because you could say that more people died after we started using cars, right? It's like an invention. And the ways in which we operate those have a direct effect on like how they affect us. I do think that regardless, social media grew exponentially, and because of that, I don't think a lot of us were prepared to deal with the consequences, nor do we know what the consequences were. And it is important to acknowledge how social media can be very bad for us, and especially given how much data is collected about us and like all of the targeted ads. And like if you watch the viral documentary on Netflix with Tristan Harris, and they talk about like 1% changes based on like the things that you're consuming and media and stuff. Yeah, I guess you could argue that it was bad, but like any tool, any invention, social media was an invention. And I think that social media could be awesome. Like when else would I be talking to my grandma who's around the world and seeing her like post pictures? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's super special. And I think a tool is a tool. How you use it, like, I don't know, it's a hammer.
Yeah.
You use a hammer, you can build a house, but you can also like do bad things to people.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know, it's just a tool. Good or bad is all about like being aware, I guess, of what it can do to you. And I think I'd more on the side of like having a conversation around how do you deter the negative consequences of social media as opposed to deciding whether it's good or bad. Because I would like to say that any tool I would hope could be used for good.
That's a great point. It's more about the user than the tool. So let's take it where you just said, how would you recommend, I think by my understanding of you and your mentality, it seems that you have a pretty good relationship with these things. If you were talking to someone who had a horrible relationship with these things, what advice would you give them?
Well, it's super dependent on why they have a bad relationship with these things. Because sometimes social media emphasizes pre-existing insecurities, and it just amplifies them. And social media is not going on social media might help lessen the issue, but I guess like the base of the issue is something else. But then also understanding that like social media opens this whole like pothole of like can of worms about like comparing yourself to people, seeing what people could do. Because like just like you said, oh my god, I saw these friends who are telling these great stories. I'm so inspired to go in the world.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are other people who watch those and are just like, oh, what am I doing with my life? Right? It's like, it depends, right? It's like all a mindset thing. So I think it's more about like being mentally healthy in other portions of your life. And that looks different to different people. Some people like going running, journaling, being introspective, going to therapy. And, you don't have to go to therapy if you're feeling depressed. You can go to therapy even feeling great. It's always helpful. I think like being stable in other aspects is actually more beneficial, because I would like to think that, yes, while social media is super powerful, it can suck you in. If you're pretty grounded in other aspects of your life, then I think you'll have better control over yourself and like the consequences of it. Just being aware. I'm always like a fan of like, just be aware of what it can do to you, because I think if you're aware, you can take steps to try and like negate any possible deterrents.
Yeah. Dude, you have such amazing perspective. And I was going to even say that what you're identifying is perspective. The way how I might watch a creator camp video and be like, dude, I'm so inspired to go bring adventure into my life. And someone else might watch it and compare their life and be like, oh, my life sucks. And so that perspective is interesting. The other thing that you said that I found very interesting is you said a lot of people will go toward eliminating social media, but that's not generally the solving the problem. It's almost like, from what I got that you were saying, it's almost that social media is an enhancer of who you are. So if you're someone who is looking how you have a very positive mindset and you're trying to bring adventure into your life and you're trying to meet more people, then you can use that tool of social media to help with that mission. And if you're someone who's like struggling to find happiness, maybe you're depressed, social media can just be another reason to prove to yourself that life isn't good or something, which I found really interesting.